Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be discussing the 2026 trade deadline for the Toronto Maple Leafs and the trades they made, and we'll compare them to the thoughts I had in my previous video about what the Leafs should do during this trade deadline. Let's get into it. First trade the Leafs made during the deadline, or I guess technically just before the deadline, was on March 5th. They sent Nicholas Waugh to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for a 2027 conditional first-round pick and a 2026 fifth-round pick. Now, this is a player I didn't think the Leafs were going to move. I thought they were going to hold on to him. He has term on his deal, so I thought they were going to keep him around and use him next year. But they didn't. They moved him. The conditions on the first is top 10 protected. So in the case of the 2027 pick from the Colorado Avalanche being a top 10 pick next year, it will then bump over to an unprotected 2028 first round pick. And the fifth is just a fifth. So I think this is a pretty good return for a guy like Nicholas Waugh. It's in a way, it's what you get for Marner, right? Take out Nicholas Waugh's name, and this is what you get for Marner. You get a first and a fifth. Either way, I think it's a tidy bit of business. Again, for Waugh, worst case scenario, Colorado makes the playoffs next year, and then it's like a late first. Best case scenario, it becomes top 10 protected, and then they get an unprotected 2028 pick. Yeah, for a guy like Waugh, it's pretty good. And for Colorado, what they're getting with Nick Waugh is a bottom six forward, proven playoff player, plays heavy. Kind of all the things you need to go on a big playoff run. That's what you're getting from this guy. So I think it's a good deal for both teams. The first trade for the Leafs during the deadline came later in the day. It was Bobby McMann to the Seattle Kraken, and in exchange, they got a 2027 second-round pick and a 2026 fourth-round pick. Honestly, this is a good deal for, again, both teams. You're getting something for McMann. You developed him through the ECHL all the way up to the NHL, and you have got a pretty good return for him. I didn't think he was worth the first anyways. I thought this was kind of around what his value would have been. I didn't see him going to the Kraken. I thought he was going to go to the Kings. The trade that I had predicted, or I guess my thought, was McMann to the Kings for Turcotte and a 2026 second. So honestly, pretty similar to what I kind of thought. It ends up being a 2027 second. But yeah, I think, again, a good bit of business for the Leafs. And on the Kraken side of things, it's, again, a bottom six guy that they can use for their playoff run. He can score. He's a big body. He's not the most physical player, but he can retrieve pucks. He's got a good shot. He can create offense down there on their third or fourth line, and then if you need him to, he can play second line in a pinch. The final trade of the day was Scott Laughton to the LA Kings for a conditional 2026 third round pick. The condition on the pick, it becomes a 2026 second if LA makes the playoffs. So Leafs fans, we should be cheering for LA to make the playoffs. Honestly, for the Leafs, this is a good trade. Some people want to view it as bad. I view it as good. You get something for Laughton. You gave up way too much for him to begin with when they picked him up from Philly last year. You gave up a first, Nikita Garankin, and maybe a fifth. I don't remember exactly what that trade was, but you gave up a lot for Laughton, right? To get something back for him and to learn from previous mistakes on just letting guys walk, I think this is a decent bit of business. honestly, it's most likely going to become a second round pick. I think LA will make the playoffs. So, in my opinion, there's nothing to be mad at. They have gotten back pick value for a guy whom wasn't playing very well, and a guy they weren't using, and a guy that was probably going to walk anyway, so let's be honest. For the LA Kings, you get a player like Scott Laughton, bottom 6 guy, energy guy, locker room guy, brings good vibes to the team. I think for them, they're winding up for a playoff push. It's a good trade. It's a good trade. Again, good depth guy. A playoff-ish player. I think he plays better in the playoffs. I think he could score a couple big goals for you. I think he can hit in the playoffs. For the Kings, it's a pretty good depth trade. Was this deadline as a whole a good trade deadline for the Maple Leafs? My first opinion is yes. I think it was good. I don't think it was great. I think it was good. If I had to rank it on a scale between an A and an F, it would most likely be a B. I think they moved on from some pieces they needed to move on from, and they got back value for those guys. They didn't just let them walk, right? So, all in all, I think it was a pretty decent bit of business for the Maple Leafs. Now, what they're going to do with those assets they now have going forward, that's the question, right? Honestly, going off of what I've seen previously with the Leafs, there is potential for them to make stupid decisions with these draft picks they got. So let's hope they don't. But yeah, I think all in all, it was a decent trade deadline for them. I think they could have moved on from a few more guys like Calle Jarnkrok, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I think you could have moved on from him. But outside of those two guys, and maybe a few others, there's not much more they can do, right? And I heard people talking about Benoit, and I heard people talking about Michelli, and I heard people talking about Nick Robertson. Robertson and Michelli are RFAs going into this year, so I can see why they didn't want to move on from them. They still hold their rights, and they can still decide what they want to do with them at the draft. Benoit, he has term left on his contract, and to be quite honest with you, I don't think you could have got much for him. If anything, he's been that bad this year. I don't think you could have got anything for him. Guys like Matthews, because I've heard his name being floated around going into the deadline today, Nylander and Riley, they all have no moves, so they have to agree to the trade. Now, if you want to explore a move like that in the off season, I think that's more likely. And like I said in my previous video, I think it's more likely to see Riley and Nylander go over Matthews. But yeah, I think, again, all in all, pretty solid trade deadline for the Leafs. Honestly, there's not much more they can do. Again, the other guys they had have term. It's hard to move on from guys with term. That's why I was surprised they got rid of Waugh. But getting what they got back for him, I can now see why they agreed to that trade. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.